Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Pregame Network podcast, episode 63. This is Dan, joined by his pal Anthony, and we are here to talk about more news and stuff and things in the realm of video games because that's what we like to
Yay.
do.
Oh, ass.
Um, so it's been a relatively tame week for me, I'd say,
Yeah.
maybe with the exception of I mean, it's not like it's like the news stories that I'm thinking of are not necessarily in my general wheelhouse. It was
Mm.
just something I took note of because of the fact that it happened and it was kind of like a shitty thing. But I'll get to that.
Mhm.
Um, as always, we'll start off by talking about what we've been playing this past week, and then we'll
Mhm.
just go from there. I think I took the torch last time, so you can go first this week.
Mhm. Well, unfortunately for me, I've been dealing with tension headaches all week, so
Oh, that
I
doesn't
haven't.
sound good.
Yeah, between that and the fact that like I've been saying this a couple weeks now, is like when I sit down to play games next, I have like a couple lengthy things I want to do, so I'm just like, let's put that off a week. Basically, all I did was I played my usual, and I tried. And I swear to God, I don't have a problem. This isn't becoming a problem. I
Oh boy.
tried uh, two new gotcha games. Um,
Oh, it's not becoming
and
a problem, huh?
it's not becoming a problem because none of these I'm going to stick with. Just the ones that I mentioned. Uh, and so these two they've been around for a while, but one of them recently got a Steam release for the first time, and the other one got a global release for the first time. And the first one is a game called Blue Archive. It's essentially, I mean, if you played one gacha, you understand the underlying mechanics, you collect characters and all that stuff. But where this one, the genre that it apes off of, where the other ones I've tried are action games or action RPGs or MMOs or strategy games, this one is actually an auto battler, and
Hey,
that's not.
oh God, those I don't want to say rub me the wrong way, but like they get stale real quick for me.
Yeah, where you were all over Vampire Survivors and what was the Deep Rock one called again? Deep Rock Survivor
Just
or something like that?
yeah, just Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. I
Yeah.
still play that game.
Yeah. And this is going to be a weird distinction for me. Like I probably couldn't do a Deep Rock Survivor or a Vampire Survivors where it's an auto shooter where you're moving around and does the shooting for you and just aim it while you're doing other shit, right? The most I can do is I have other games that have actually done that as like a event, and it's a one and done, and it's like, okay, it's nice for what it is, right? The reason Blue Archive is a bit more palatable to me is because I don't control the movement at all, and I feel like that makes such a huge difference for something like that's taking most of the control from you. Like moving a character around and having it do things like where I have to be super hands on with the movement and everything else just kind of is out of my control is so much more off putting to me than just managing these characters doing their thing and occasionally changing how fast the battle's going or doing skills. So that's really all the gameplay is. Level up the characters, let them do their thing, manage the skills, make sure nothing goes wrong, that kind of thing. And it tickles part of my brain that likes older simulators, if that makes any sense. Because
Fine simulators.
like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Age of Empires, stuff like
Oh,
that,
okay.
because it almost reminded me of the downtime of those games where it's like, you have everything set up, you just spend time either building, a theme park or a part of your park or an army, and now you have to wait and watch it unfold and make adjustments as it's happening. And it almost felt like that. And it was interesting to me, not like the game's not super deep, obviously. It's gotcha, and it's a gotcha auto paddler, but it was interesting to get that, I guess, satisfying moment out of it. I really don't have another way to put it. It's not super hands on. It's one of the many games that I could fit while I'm doing other shit. It's not something that I could sit down or that I want to sit down and put hours and hours. That's like for the real games and stuff, right? So I've been playing a little bit of that. Music's great too, but that's not something everybody's gonna care about and all that stuff. But so I tried that, and I tried this other one. I wasn't going to originally because it's not something I'm interested in at all. But I was curious because it's like breaking into the mainstream a little. It's called, I don't even know how to pronounce this. Uma Musume, Pretty Derby is
Never
what
heard
it's
of it.
called. Yeah, but it's like it's weird. It's every now and again, a game will come out and like mainstream streamers and content creators are playing it, right? And I'm just like, I'm surprised. It's literally horse racing, but it's anime girls. That's literally it. You know how I always say it's just like you take the anime girls, you throw them onto a subject, and you'll net an audience, right? It's literally that. And I'm just sitting there. I'm watching like men in their 40s, sitting there playing this. It's literally all it is if you took like creature raising from like a side quest in like Final Fantasy or something, and added like and mixed it with the horse betting machines you would see at like a Dave and Buster's, if you ever remember going into one of those and you'd see the massive screen and it was like virtual horse racing. It's literally just that. And I don't jive with this level of management at all. It's like 95% downtime and random chance, and then sitting on the virtual sidelines hoping you win a race. And I've talked to people who've played this. It's not for me at all. Some people are they're always fuming about like how shit their luck is, and the other people are just like, cute girls, nothing else. It's like, I have no idea why this is clicking with so many fucking people. I think it's because all of the characters are based off of real life racehorses, so there's like novelty there or something. But it wasn't for me at all. I don't know if that's going to change, but I'm not getting caught up in the hype. And so that was really all I had time to try this week, aside from splitting headaches and editing and shit like that. Just those two little games.
Well, shit. I'm sorry about your headaches. That sucks.
Yeah, I've never had something like that before. Miserable.
Yeah, it does not sound like any fun. As far as I go, nothing really has nothing has been out of the ordinary for me. I dropped Control. I'm kind of done with that game. Like I made it to like a couple hours in, and then I just kind of realized I don't want to be doing this right now. So
Fair.
I put it down. And the biggest gripe for me, I think I mentioned this last week, was the fucking map. That's like, you just don't know where you're going.
Yeah,
And
you
the whole
you gotta
game is
like
a
follow the
labyrinth.
in-game instructions on the walls
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Which
Pretty
is fun. Like,
novel, but
I've beat the game in the past, but I just didn't feel like going through it again.
that's fair.
So I put it down. Beyond that, I've been playing more Space Marine. My hot streak with Returnal has kind of come to an end. It's still on my laptop, but I haven't really played it that much. Maybe it'll suck me in again, like down the road. I tried Starship Troopers Extermination again recently, today actually, and the game is just janky, and I don't know. There's no structure to it, or there's very little structure to it, and it just, without like a group of people to play with, it's just not something I'm gonna sink a bunch of time into. Deep Rock Survivor I've been playing, but I kind of do that steadily. Dark Tide is a staple for me, as you know. The finals, we put like 4 hours in today. It's always a good time. I mean, it's frustrating at times, but
I like
it's
that.
always a good time.
Every time we talk about it on here, you always go like, oh, "It's always a good time," and then like I remember you have terrible luck. You have some really
Shit
crappy
magnet.
games.
I am a shit magnet in that game. I don't know why.
Too close to you, I just start. I spontaneously combust. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
with
it's a problem. It's like, it's real bad. But one game that I actually picked up again, I started putting some more time into, is Witchfire. Do you remember that game?
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Witchfire is, I could best describe it as a roguelite FPS extraction shooter. I think that is the best way that anybody could describe it, honestly. The only reason I'm putting such a highlight or such a spotlight on it right now is because I've been enjoying it. How many hours? I have 14 hours in the game right now. Not like a ton of time, but with those games like that, with roguelites and especially extractions, like, I can only do so much in a sitting, and especially by myself. Not that it's co-op or anything, but the shooting mechanics actually feel great. I think that's probably the biggest pro I can give the game right now, and it's not really easy to do for a smaller team. But they are getting a big content update later this month, and they're adding a bunch of areas and like balance changes and weapons and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to it. But it is in early access, so like, it is a little bit janky. But But overall, I mean, it's fine. It's a fun little game. But that's pretty much all I've been playing this
Okay.
week. Nothing crazy new or out of the ordinary. I've kind of been searching for a game that I could play from beginning to end again. Like I went back and I started playing, and I'm talking about like the past several weeks. Like I went through the entire Mass Effect trilogy again.
Okay.
I went through like the Wolfenstein series. I did. What else did I do? Um, there was something else in there. I forgot what it was though. But I've been going back and playing a lot of single player games. I'm looking for another game now that I could uh, that I can go back and play or replay or something. Oh, Ghost of Tsushima. That's what it was.
All right. All
Um,
right.
but yeah, so I've just been kind of looking around for stuff to kill my evenings. Um, the new Destiny expansion, I don't even know if I want to call it an expansion, but like that comes out next week. I haven't touched that game in some time now, but I'm gonna see what's going on with that next week. But
Mm,
yeah, that's really about it.
okay.
Nothing too crazy. Um, but yeah, so that's what we've been playing this week. Seems pretty normal or tame for
Yeah.
us, I think.
Not every
Um,
week's gonna be explosive.
yeah, but all right. Well, now on to the news.
All right.
Let's see. What do we talked about Battlefield 6 and how EA wants 100 million players for that game, right?
Yes. Yes, we did.
Okay. I'm just trying to see where we left off last week. Um, so I mean, going off of that same vein with Battlefield, apparently they're not changing the class system. Um, I haven't read the whole blog post, but apparently it's like making people not happy.
Okay.
I don't know, man. All the stories that I've heard from last week to now does not inspire a whole lot of confidence. Apparently, there was a leak recently. I think I actually posted it into the news channel. Um, there was a data mine leak for an open beta that is supposed to be happening at some point this summer. Don't have a hard
Mm,
date, but apparently that's a thing.
okay.
I don't know. I think that all the people that made Battlefield what it is are gone, much like a lot of other heavy-hitting studios that we once loved.
Hmm.
And I'm not filled with confidence. I hope to be proven very wrong, but who the fuck knows? We will see.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Um,
it's it's definitely smarter to be a bit on the skeptical side because it's something we've talked about quite a bit, but with these companies, regardless of the budgets, regardless of people, companies saying we got to go back to our roots, we got to do this, regardless of who's at the top of the project, there are so many moving pieces, and
yeah.
it's ultimately going to be affected by how many people are involved and how well those groups have maintained the ethics of the companies over the however many years these companies have been
Yeah.
involved, because it's one guy at the top of like, oh well, this company I know, but if that company over the last 15 years has gone through the same hollowing out process that a lot of these companies have, just because people leave, people get fired, you have these ridiculous hiring standards and additions and things like that. It's just anything could happen. But
Yeah, I mean the only not even saving grace, but like I keep forgetting that Vince Zampella is
yeah.
the head of Battlefield
Mm-hmm.
Studios, and like I don't really know what that means or what he even does. It's not like he's
I
in a
mean,
in the trenches development role. Like
it's
he's
it's
management.
it's hopefully a unique directorial position. That would be the
Right.
best outcome. Instead of just like like it can't just be a producer role, because if you're in a producer role, I mean, you do some important stuff, but the trickle down from a producer role to the actual created experience, it would be much better if he was in a directorial role.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the case.
Mm.
I I don't know. I think EA saw the fact that he co-founded COD into what it is today, co-founded Medal of Honor, co-founded Titanfall. Like he has such a pedigree when it comes to shooters that I feel like EA scooped him up, and also Apex. Like let's not forget that.
Mhm.
I don't maybe it wasn't him, but it was his studio. So like the buck stops with him.
Yeah, I get you.
Um, yeah. So I don't know, man. I am not crazy confident about the state of Battlefield 6 right now. All these things and leaks that keep on coming out is like a bunch of red flags. So
Yeah, well, I
you
mean,
can't see it right now, but I'm shaking my head.
yeah, I get you, but it is really just a wait and see what happens, because the fact
Yeah.
that we're getting all this information is kind of unprecedented in itself. We are seeing behind the curtain, that's behind the closed door, that's in a building we don't have access to normally. Like we're seeing. I would say that this Battlefield, short of situations where there are like massive leaks, I'm not just talking about ones where like playtesters don't respect NDAs, because that's a different thing altogether, but short of games that have had massive leaks in the past where assets get leaked online, this Battlefield is a game that we are really seeing, like the process of it being built in constant, secondhand updates more than any other game in recent memory, at the very least.
And the one thing that keeps on making its rounds is the phrase "make or break." After
I mean,
after
yeah,
Battlefield 2042, like this really is a make or break game for DICE and EA for the Battlefield brand specifically.
yeah,
Um, and I mean, I don't think the franchise is just gonna die,
of course not. Yeah,
but uh, it's gonna be like irreparable damage is gonna be done. So
yeah. You
they really
can't.
can't fuck it up.
Yeah, that you can't fuck up what is essentially a come to Jesus, back to your roots moment in his
Yeah.
franchise that just got done having two really divisive and crappy entries.
Mm.
That's where you start to spiral a bit, and it would really put us in who knows what kind of territory with the franchise, because like you said, it's not just going to roll over and die, but what really happens after that. But I think I'm a bit more optimistic than you, surprisingly, probably because I don't have my head in that particular like I'm not. You probably see like 100 times more updates than I do. Like I get the news on it, and I kind of gauge my opinions on that, and I kind of say like, it's early with this that, but you probably see a lot more of this game than I do on a weekly basis, so we're probably viewing this a little different.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I have seen a fair amount of leaks in gameplay,
Yeah.
and I do like what I've seen as far as gameplay goes. But
Mm-hmm.
um, if they fumble a bunch of the systems, it's really not going to matter.
Yeah,
So
we'll see what
wait and
happens.
see.
Yeah.
um, I don't really have like anything huge this week. It's just like a bunch of little stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Battlefront 2 was one of the best-selling games of the month, I think. Hold
Mm.
on, I had it here somewhere. Yeah, but no, it was one of the best-selling games of May.
Mm-hmm.
I, God, that whole situation is just crazy in its own right.
Yeah, I forget what it's called. It's not FOMO, but it's like situations where like the right kind of spark hits, and something that,
Mm.
even if it's older or newer, it doesn't matter, but it has like this brief like second wind period, like everyone's on
Yeah.
board all of a sudden, and everybody just kind of ignores how things got to this point with whatever it is, and they're just, and they not they don't have rose tinted glasses on, but it's just like they are just euphoric in their enjoyment to the part where we just forget everything that led to the game, and why it's not necessarily as popular, and why there isn't a Battlefront 3, that kind of thing. So, but no, yeah, it's definitely having its second wind, like I said.
Yeah. Um, did I already talk about The Expanse? About
Oh,
all
we
the
talked
Mass
about
Effect comparisons?
yeah, we talked about it last week.
Oh, okay, so let's skip that one.
Yeah.
All right, hit me with something. What do you got that's new?
Uh, Nothing particularly fun or interesting, I would say. The FBI has been making moves this week on different ROM distributing websites, and specifically Nintendo piracy websites. Like I guess they got nothing better to do.
No,
And
probably not.
yeah, no, there's no world events that need addressing by intelligence networks at the moment. So I guess it makes sense for them to take a swing at games and gamers and stuff like that. There's always a joke, and it's been going around, and it's half joke, half not. That's been going around since, I want to say, like I guess when Gamergate 1 was happening, that gamers are truly the most oppressed class, and like that's what people are saying now, because it's just like, all the crazy shit in the world that's going on. The FBI takes the time to, do their biannual swatting at piracy, which is just, really going to truly get away with. But
Yeah.
well, I mean, that's really all the news I have about that. It's just, what are we really doing here? Realistically, just, taking raids at these
Plugging
victimless.
reefs in a sinking ship ready
Yeah,
to
like,
fight against
yeah,
mobs.
it's like you're never going to truly crack down on piracy, not in my lifetime anyway, and you're never really going to, it doesn't address the core issue of why people would go there in the first place, so it's whatever.
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just a never-ending battle. It's an unstoppable force meets an immovable object.
Yeah,
Um,
indeed.
all right, let's see. What else? What else? What else? What else? Okay, I'm gonna go over a couple, one or two small things that I
Yeah,
have,
hit
and
me.
then I have a question for you.
Go for it,
Um,
man.
so, all right, have you ever heard of the game called Reaper Actual?
Uh, when you linked it, I had a feeling I was like, this kind of looks familiar, but I pretend I know nothing. Pretend I know nothing.
All right, well, you remember Planetside, right?
Oh, of course, yeah. That was a big deal
You
for a
do
while.
you do you remember what that was like? What the shtick of
the
that
The
game
whole
was?
idea was, it was almost like an MMO system behind massive team battles on, like, I wouldn't say evolving, but like constantly moving front lines and stuff like that. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
yeah, it was
Yeah,
like a
yeah. I
like the
remember.
Battlefield formula on steroids, I would say.
Yeah, that's a game I saw a lot of on like GameStop televisions, and then I think me and Joe played it a handful of times. I own it. I don't remember if it's free to play or not, but I own it. I've played
I
it,
think it is free to
and
play.
that is, if my recollection serves, that's what it was really about. It's like not strictly an MMO world, but a constantly evolving line of attrition in these
Yeah.
large battlefields between different factions.
I tried it a bunch of times, but the
Mhm.
the feeling that I got was like overwhelming um emptiness. Like I
Yeah,
feel like it was too big for its own good.
yeah, you definitely need you either need a extremely disproportionate player base to keep those battlefields full, or you need like almost what Arrowhead claims they do with Helldivers, where you have like a DM pushing people in the right direction, nudging people so that the battlefields don't feel empty, but then you kind of defeat the purpose anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's like Battlefield on steroids, because when I remember playing it, it's literally like, you're not worried about your KD or dying, and you just want to get to the cool vehicles, or you want to make pushes on the objectives, and that in its own right is a very freeing formula for a shooter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could
Well,
see,
I
like, if you got into it at a certain time, or if you just, or it was more often than not an empty kind of experience.
yeah. Well, I mean, I bring up Planetside because the studio behind Planetside 2, they announced uh a new game called Reaper Actual, and they're describing it as an open world persistent FPS. Um,
Mm.
I watched the trailer. It it almost kind of reminded me of DMZ a little bit,
Uh,
but I don't really know like what the loop is supposed to be here.
mm.
Like if you let a bunch of players loose in this big map, they could just shoot each other on sight. Like that's gonna be what the original Dark Zone was in the Division. And
Mm.
I mean, they're gonna lose players hand over fist if that's what the game is.
Yeah,
Um,
I could see
I
that.
like the aesthetic. Like I'm just a fan of like the military shooter.
Uh-huh.
I've always have been. Um, and I'm curious to see what they do with this because this is definitely a game that's like aimed at somebody like me,
Mm.
but I don't really know what the loop is going to be because you can't just let people loose in this open world. And if they, you want to shoot at somebody on site that doesn't see you, that you have like dead to rights, it's going to be a terrible experience for like 50% of the players. Um,
I mean,
so I don't know.
I will say I'm inclined to agree with you on paper, that is, but like, that's there are so many like small games or big names that aren't necessarily as big as they used to, from like, a decade ago or around that time. You know, like Arma was kind of like that. Certain Arma mods, DayZ, probably the biggest Arma mod, was like that, where it's like you go in and eventually you just get shot and you lose fucking everything. You know, there's a
Yep.
market out there. You know,
Yeah.
it's just how big it is that's that's debatable. I just don't think it's
Yeah. So
necessarily as dead. You know.
let's see. They've released minimum specs already though.
Ah.
Intel i5 or Ryzen 5, 16 gigs of RAM, RTX 2080, 30 an NVIDIA RTX 2080, an RTX 3070, or an AMD Radeon RX 7600. Okay. So why
Mm.
wouldn't you just say 2080 if that's the lowest common denominator?
You know, early specs. You know.
So yeah, I mean, it was just announced, and it was like a 5 minute gameplay trailer, but I use that term very loosely because I did not get an accurate depiction of what the fuck this thing is supposed to be in that time because it was like half cutscene, half like staged gameplay, like a vertical slice. So
Okay.
the way they're describing it, it sounds like DMZ, but
Okay.
again, like you have to wait and see and see what this is all about. Um, but I will be keeping my eye on that because, like I said before, this is my type of game,
Mm.
and if somebody could do DMZ better than Infinity Ward was able to, then I'm all for that. Oh man, I love that game. That was so much fun.
DMZ was more fun than I anticipated us having. It
Yeah.
really just feels like occasionally the bigger companies, and this is going to sound obvious to some people, occasionally when they experiment, they just hit gold. But because of the nature of bigger companies, they just drop it immediately. Like, you
Yep.
know, I
Right
have a
back into the
feeling,
river they found it in.
yeah, I have a feeling that if either Call of Duty didn't have to worry about Warzone or zombies, DMZ probably would have had better legs. And that's
I don't
sad
even
to
think
that's
it's
sad to talk
zombies.
about.
Like I don't think zombies is big enough or demands enough of a workforce to maintain that.
No,
Um,
it's not just about workforce, because Nazi zombies, Call of Duty zombies in general, can really be propped up by the same team. It doesn't need its own dedicated
yeah,
team.
well, that's
That's
my
got a
point.
bloated team. But what I meant, it was less about the team and the manpower behind it, and the fact that Call of Duty can only really support 3 major modes at a time,
Right.
and
Yeah.
the modes, you know,
But like going
technically
back
4 with
to
Warzone, but
yeah, but the COD is a victim of of itself because, and I've been saying this for years, but like
everybody has. Yeah.
the COD life cycle of a new game dropping every year, it just takes all the wind out of my sails for wanting to play the current game, knowing that
Yeah.
it's all going to be useless in 12 months or
Yeah.
less. So it, I wish they would kind of segregate it, you know, like have the multiplayer portion of COD that you can keep on adding to, and I mean the COD is essentially a live service right now anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, have it be an actual live service and add more weapons and camos and challenges and et cetera, et cetera. And then have like Warzone slash DMZ or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that would be the way to go. That would be better for the health of the game. But I'm talking into the void right now because that will never
Yeah.
happen.
And we've already gone
Oh
down
yeah,
this route
beating
already.
that horse to a bloody
Yeah.
pulp. All right, well, let's move on from that. Have you heard anything about all the Subnautica 2 drama?
I've heard a little bit, and I do also have some, not context, but I do have, like, it immediately made me think of something that happened much earlier in Subnautica's, like, general development. But go ahead, hit me.
Well, you might be able to articulate this better than me because I only learned about it yesterday.
Okay.
So this company called Krafton
Mm-hmm.
the bought the development studio that made Subnautica. I don't remember what their name is, and they basically ousted the company's founders and the guys who actually created the idea of Subnautica, and
Okay.
then denied them their bonuses because they said that they weren't handling their responsibilities. And it honestly, it sounds like the whole Infinity Ward and Activision suit all over again. Um, and yeah, it was like it's supposed to be like $250 million bonuses. They never gave it to them because they weren't meeting certain milestones and not being responsible with the IP.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that is in a nutshell what happened. And so now these two guys that created Subnautica and the development studio behind it are suing Krafton for damages and like slander and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
Subnautica 2 has officially been delayed into 2026.
Mm,
It's just not a good situation overall. And it just
yeah.
seems like the root of all this is corporate greed again.
I mean,
Um,
that is part of it for sure. It does on the surface, and this will come out if they do go through with the
pun.
lawsuit. What were we gonna say? Would
I
you?
said
Where was the
pun
pun? I didn't even catch the
on
pun.
the
What?
surface.
Oh, fuck off. Yeah, on the surface, it does look bad for Crafton, as it normally does. The one thing I will say about corporations, as much as they are normally the people causing the issues, it is always all these issues will always be framed in a way where it is like the larger companies at fault always, and right,
Mhm.
that skepticism is it makes sense. I'll put it that way. The What I will say about Crafton is, based on what little I've heard, they have been trying to prop themselves up as the good guys, like, when they swooped in and bought Tango Gameworks and all those people and kept that team together. I am willing to bet there's more going on there, but we really won't know until either this thing is dropped or it goes through. The one thing I will
Yeah, probably not.
say, the first thing this made me think of is that these guys were they were the kind of guys that fired people based on things they would say on the internet if they participated in wrongthink. So part of me, was it Schadenfreude, when something bad happens to someone, you kind of get this little bit of satisfaction. Personally, as far as I can tell, a lot of them were just nasty people, or people with
Yeah.
focuses in the wrong places in some cases. I'm not even a big fan of Subnautica either, but so this was well, I am willing to wait and see to see who's in the right or the wrong here. In the meantime, I'm just like, companies and people I don't like are fighting each other and everyone gets hurt, so I'm okay with that. But yeah, they probably lost, regardless. On the surface, them losing, what is it? There's a high number. Is it millions of dollars, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's like but I don't know, it had to do with revenue targets.
Um, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens, because if there is a there's a case for firing, I'm sure they'll come swinging with it. And I will say that Subnautica 2 always struck me as that kind of game that's just like, up, it's coming to early access, and it's going to sit in early access, and it's going to be sitting there for a while, and it's going to leave early access in fucking, what, 5 years or something. It struck me as one of those cases, and that could just be my ignorance in this situation. But yes, I heard about this. I'm glad everybody involved is getting dirt in their eye, and yeah, that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's what you get for firing the composer for mean tweets or something. So it's like, I want everybody to suffer, so that's fine with me.
Yeah, that God, just another shitty situation all around.
Uh, yeah.
Let's see, what else we got here? That's as far as like newsworthy stuff that has come across my desk.
Mhm.
I feel like there was something else that I wanted to talk about, but I'm not. Oh, Killing Floor 3 is getting a stress test this coming Sunday
Oh, is
on
that so?
yeah, on I guess technically tomorrow the 13th.
Mm.
Um which is a shame because I'm going to be in Pennsylvania all weekend, or Sunday and Monday. I really wanted to play it. I
Too
love Killing
bad.
Floor, as you know, but I don't know if that's going to happen unless it's extended by a couple days, or I don't even know how long it's supposed to last. But I know that the stress test is tomorrow, but I'm not going to be able to play it, so that kind of sucks.
Yeah, well, you never know
Uh,
with these
yeah,
with
which it's
games
weird.
with games that are in the position that Killing Floor is. They are primed for, with the right feedback, to extend this as almost like a demo for goodwill,
Yeah,
in a sense. So.
and the game launches on the 25th. It's only like 2 weeks away. Like it's coming out very,
Mm,
very soon, and they're only hosting a stress test this weekend. So I don't. It's just a weird situation. But like when they delayed it and they said, okay, we're gonna polish it up, we're gonna fix the game, we're gonna make stylistic changes. All the cosmetic changes have actually been really good. Everything is a lot more is a lot darker. It's more gory. It has more of a horror feel to it. I don't
Mm,
think they separated the. I think like the whole hero class system is still in place, which a lot of people take issue with. But I
yeah.
mean, it's whatever to me because apparently, and I know I've said this before, Tripwire wanted to do this with Killing Floor 2, but they didn't have the time and the manpower to do it
Hmm.
or the money, so they couldn't, and they wound up with the
Yeah.
system that's in Killing Floor 2 right now. And people absolutely fucking love it. Like it's just become a part of Killing Floor's soul.
Hmm.
And they are going a completely different direction with this. So we'll see how it shakes out. The game still looks like it's going to be fun. I mean, it's $40. I'm probably still going to buy it on day one,
Hmm.
just because I'm a sucker for horde shooters. One of my favorite games is Darktide, and I have a history with the Killing Floor franchise.
Hmm.
But yeah, the stress test is this weekend, and I'll be watching a lot of gameplay of it if I can't actually play it myself. But yeah, that was something else that I at least wanted to mention.
There you go.
Yeah, uh, yeah, talk about something while I scour my feeds for something else to mention.
Well, as in an interesting note, Capcom recently announced that they would be canceling an upcoming lecture they were going to hold on Monster Hunter Wilds. The lecture was going to be on July 24th, but they have since said, I think it was like a couple days ago, they said that they're not going to be participating. And the reason they're saying this is because they're saying that their developers are facing threats and harassment.
Hmm.
And there's a couple things about this that are worth mentioning and that I find funny is that this lecture was not at like it wasn't going to be at a gaming convention like you know how E3 was Electronic Expo, it wasn't a gaming convention, it just evolved into that. um,
Yeah.
Japan has this yearly conference. I think it's a computer entertainment developers conference where it's they just talk tech and development and things like that. And Capcom, they canceled this and they said it was because of threats and harassment. They said that they're basically like Square now, which I mentioned months ago at this point, where they basically snuck into their terms and conditions that they can pursue legal action against you if you say mean things to the developers. And to that, I just have the same thing I said last time, which is like real threats, fine, but there's already laws on the books for that. I don't mean words. I don't think you should be even suggesting that you can sue people over mean words, right? So just I'm not for that. But the most humorous thing about this, and why this kind of stuck out to me, is the conference they were holding was, what does it say here? It was a lecture on Monster Hunter Wilds optimization, and I found that
Okay.
hysterical because you can say a lot about Monster Hunter and the trajectory the series has gone and casualization, series identity, all the things that we love to talk about. But I'll tell you right now, I know a lot of people that fucking love Monster Hunter. Be it people that jumped on the Wii days, people that jumped on with the PlayStation 2 games. I know a lot of people that love Monster Hunter. It's very popular. And what I can tell you from the guys with top of the line PCs to the guys getting by on middle range builds and people on consoles, regardless of their opinion on Wilds or their end experience with Wilds, how much playtime they have in, their complaints about the content, all of them acknowledge that the optimization in this game is dog shit. I was talking to one of the guys I know that who's a really big fan, and he's talking about like his computer was getting older, but he has the good shit, so he's playing around with the settings. He was showing it to me, and we were just talking about how he had a very metered reaction about how it's not optimized, and we were talking to other people who have much less metered reaction. They like to shout and scream when things don't work, and these guys have the audacity with all the shit they've been going through. Capcom has the audacity to come out and do a lecture on optimization when it's like the one thing anyone can agree upon is that the game is poorly optimized and does not run well on most hardware. It's something that you have been ignoring since the game launched, the calls for better optimization. Something that you flat out said, like, oh, we're happy with the place it is, when people are very clearly not happy with the place it is. Like, come on. Like, the whole thing is just a farce to me. But, like, I do... My only takeaway is that it's funny that they even try to hold this lecture in the first place, despite the fact that the game is still in that position and was always in a bad position. And it's bullshit that they're doing the same thing Square did on a separate note, which is they claim the right to sue based on online harassment and stuff like that. And I'm just like, number one, that's not going to fly. But the fact that they could even, say to themselves and to you, it's like, nobody takes ULAs seriously. Like, the fact that, they even have the audacity to put this on paper is ridiculous to me. So that was a little something out of the corner that you might not have heard. Yeah,
I definitely did not hear that, but
yeah.
I'm not shocked or surprised or anything like that, because these companies, like, they think they're fucking God's gift to video games, but
Yeah.
The one thing every different Monster Hunter player can agree on, regardless of platform, is the optimization is dog shit. And then they go out on the stage with a written statement saying how, like, with a lecture on optimization. Like, you can't. Like, we're living in a simulation. That's evidence of a simulation right there. Like, there's no fucking way that happens in reality. Just the hubris alone is just mind-boggling. It's fucking crazy.
Hubris is a great way is a great word to use with these companies sometimes.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I never really got into Monster Hunter. I tried with Monster Hunter World, I want to say. That was a couple years ago, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Something like that. I don't. Yeah.
You're asking about the date. I don't know when you tried it, but yeah, it's been a few years since World. We're up to it goes Wilds. There were 2 Rise games, and there was something. There was another game in there that I'm forgetting. But yeah, so it's been a few years. It's been probably like 5 years ish, about, at least.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, Monster Hunter was never really my thing. All the weapons felt way too not fun to use.
I'm still on my playthrough on the PS2. I've been taking my time with that. I've been enjoying it when I play it. I just haven't beaten it yet.
Good. Let's see what else happened this week. It kind of a slowish week.
No.
I don't know. I'm looking on N4G right now to see if there's anything I might have missed, but nothing is jumping out at me.
You said you had a question for me?
I don't really know.
You said you had
I did say that, didn't I?
You had a bunch of small news and you had a question for me. Well, lay it on me already, my guy.
Oh, okay. So I'm pretty sure I can infer from the name, but can you just for posterity and for anyone maybe listening, explain to me Stop Killing Games?
Okay. So I was saving this for next week because it's still it's a developing story, but I'll give you the gist of it.
Okay, well then give me like the elevator pitch, and then we could get into it next week.
Stop Killing Games is an initiative that was started. What was it? Shortly after The Crew went offline, that Ubisoft driver.
Okay.
To kind of round it down, that kind of served as a spark to ignite people's growing dissatisfaction with live service games. It's the whole point behind Stop Killing Games is to raise awareness and also to organize a petition through an existing legal channel in the European governments and the collective legislature to bring this to governing bodies so that they might actually act on different, not demands, but like basically to address the points made in that, and the points being that a lot of games, and it's becoming more common, a lot of games have almost like an expiration date in mind, right? And the whole thing that's going on with it right now is that what Stop Killing Games asserts is that these games should be designed with an eventual EOL in mind so that, the code goes to the users so that they can manage it themselves, so that the publishers aren't on the hook anymore, or that offline content remains accessible. And there was a smear campaign almost that kind of coincided with it, that basically said that, they're demanding, Stop Killing Games is demanding that, you make offline versions of every game ever, and it's going to take from development time, and that kind of put it into a lull last year, and it kicked back up because the guy that made all these false claims, his reputation took a hit, and it got the conversation started again. But the gist of it is, it's a campaign that is nearing its end, and we're gonna at the end of this month, the campaign comes to an end. They tally all the signatures, and then they make a determination on what's going to happen, if anything. But the reason people are talking about it now is because one of the main detractors recently took a hit credibility-wise, and as his credibility tanks, people love drama, so more news gets involved. And they very quickly, I think, like, it stalled last year around 500,000 signatures. They need 1 million. I think right now it's at 1.3 million. And we'll talk more about the specifics next week. But the gist of it is that much like, we got legal action a couple of years ago on loot boxes in Europe, and it kind of changed. It sent ripples through the industry. Not loot boxes aren't dead, but they're much less common because they can't be done everywhere. People are trying to elicit that same kind of legislation to prevent egregious end-of-life situations, especially as these companies are getting more aggressive, because Ubisoft recently updated their terms and conditions that basically says that when a game goes offline and their service is ended, you are obligated to not only uninstall the game, but to destroy any physical copies you have of it. And that's just exactly, like, this is getting insane. But I think
it just brings me back to the whole if purchasing isn't owning, then piracy isn't stealing argument.
That's been getting thrown around a lot the last couple of weeks, Dan. I don't know if you
fucking wonder why.
Yeah, and that's what that's I'm of the agreement. If I always acknowledge that piracy is kind of in a murky area. I'm kind of with Gabe Newell on this, where he says that piracy is a service issue. If you make it palatable, if you're fair, people are just going to buy it. I acknowledge that there are some, darker aspects to it, murky-wise, where there are people that will just never buy and they'll always pirate. But, the more these companies encroach and basically say, it's a license, it's always been a license, it's a license, you don't own the game, it's just a license of the game, and we can revoke that, the more I'm just like, verbatim, this should be shouted from the rooftops that if buying isn't owning, piracy isn't theft. I mean, like, come on. But yeah, so the basically this is coming to a head. The deadline is, I think, the end of this month, July 31st. I'll give you updates on that next week, because basically it's ongoing. It's gone from the point where it's like every week there's like a big change to every day important voices involved are basically making their preemptive statements as we get close to, like, whether or not something's actually going to happen with it, right? So I'll give you the full rundown on where we're at, and then we'll probably end up talking about it like 2-3 weeks in a row, just based on based on the but it is what it says on the tin. It's just there are some nuances to it.
Yeah, I assumed as much. I mean, the name is kind of a giveaway, so
yeah.
I just wanted to hear what you had to say about it, and I'm actually glad that we'll get into it next week, because that seems like a really good, solid topic to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of players, and I'm sure some of these things, because when things kicked off, they put out a whole letter, like the companies represented by some of these forces. And if you thought we talked about hubris this week, there's going to be some hubris. There's going to be some hubris next week.
Hey, love some good gossip. Oh, and I found the times that the Killing Floor 3 stress test is going on.
Oh, hit me.
It's 2 hours in the afternoon and 2 hours in the evening tomorrow. Guess who's not playing it? They
call it stress testing because it's a test that stresses you specifically out.
Oh, God. I just thought that was funny, because fuck me, right? But anyway, I don't think I have much else. I mean, it's been kind of a slow week as far as, like, the news that I pay attention to. There haven't been any, like, massive developments or announcements or what have you. Yeah, I don't really. I got nothing else unless you have something. No, nothing.
I feel like there's one thing I'm missing. Like I've mentioned before, there's a few developing stories. Stop Killing Games being one of them. A lot of the smaller things that I had this week, I actually managed to tuck into some of the things you told me. Like if I brought something up, it was because of it.
Really?
Yeah. I heard that Nintendo is going to be dipping into smaller budget games with shorter development cycles to counter rising costs. And
I feel like I heard something about that also.
I think they had an investor call or something recently, or so. These companies, they're always doing calls and shit in every quarter. But
Okay.
the reason I find this interesting is because it's like, on paper, sounds like a good move. I don't trust Nintendo on smaller budget titles. And
Hmm.
the main reason I don't is not because I don't think they're experimental, and say what I will about the issues plaguing the industry and like the rot that creeps into everything, including Nintendo. They have that workforce culture that I was talking about before when we were talking about Battlefield on lock. Like that's something that they've been extreme. All of their issues isn't from how they treat their workforce. It's how how protective they are about certain brands and how locked in their ways they are into certain design philosophies. It's not their workforce. So I could see good things coming from this, but at the same time, they announced not too long ago, they announced variable pricing because they wanted people to pay more for Mario Kart World, right? And I'm very excited to see push come to shove on this when they make these smaller games with shorter development cycles and the prices don't go down. And it just kind of proves that they're all full of shit. But unfortunately, I do think this is going to lead to not what it should. Like, it should lead to smaller experimental projects from a very solid company, but I just think it's going to lead to the same design and development issues that the Western companies have run into in the last couple of years, and the kind of issues that they've churned out. Because realistically, the only reason this is happening is because of a phenomenon that I think I've mentioned before, but if not, I'll mention it again, where Japan and Japan and the West are really kind of symbiotic in a lot of ways. But the thing about Japan, just because of their culture and their distance from a lot of these other companies, is they tend to inherit like a lot of the things that we go through. Like, if we deal with some kind of cultural reckoning or some kind of change or newer thing or fads or crazes, Japan typically gets hit by them like 5 years later. And I think that is basically what we're seeing. Is like 5 years ago is when development is when discussions of longer development times on AAA is starting to really wear and tear. I think that's around the time, or little later, but it's the same thing that led to that the Insomniac leaks, if you remember that, where there were a lot of
Yeah.
presentation PowerPoints where they talked about how ridiculous the cost was on some of these things. And I think
Yep.
it's just Nintendo going through that, and I don't think it's going to lead to what it should, and I don't think they're going to learn the right things.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say about Nintendo is that they won't be, it'll be a consumer thing where the consumers just eat the bad results of this, not Nintendo themselves. I don't think Nintendo's in any danger whatsoever. It's just they're going to be cranking out some shit the same way everybody's been cranking out shit, where they're going to affect their development the wrong way. So we'll see what
Go through
happens.
their slop phase.
Exactly, because of course everybody's got to. It's so distraught to me. Like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy that the stereotypical, like, oh, my precious Japan or anything, because I'm really not that guy. I just go where things that interest me and things that I like. But it is gonna suck watching Japan, where a lot of my favorite franchises come from, a lot of my favorite mediums come from, are just like, it's painful enough for me to talk with you on a day-to-day basis and experience what's happening in our backyard, so to speak. It's gonna be another when like they just get rocked, both for games and all of their other entertainment uh what would you call it, entertainment outlets. I'm not, that's gonna suck, really really suck.
uh, oh, one thing I did forget to mention. The Ghost of Yotei gameplay deep dive was
Hmm.
released 2 days ago, I think, right? 2 days
Hmm.
ago. Um, it looks cool. As somebody who just finished playing Ghost of Tsushima, um, I wouldn't say I'm hyped for it, but I'm
Hmm.
definitely going to play it when it comes to PC because I don't have a PS5.
Hmm.
Um, it just looks like another entry in that series. I don't think it like is anything groundbreaking or anything like that, but
Hmm.
not it's not I don't think it's anything groundbreaking like the way that people online and like YouTube and whatnot are saying it is. I mean, it definitely looks pretty, but it's not. That was a video put out by PlayStation. Um,
Mm.
and it's just, the combat can only be so deep. I like the fact that they have new weapons now, like you can use multiple weapons instead of just changing your sword stances.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, it's an open world game. Ultimately, it'll be a giant checklist at the end of the day.
Well, actually,
Um,
what I was going to say in response, because I didn't watch the event because I'm just not in that market, right?
mhm.
But basically, something I had heard is that it's actually getting rid of or alleviating a lot of that checklistiness, like a lot of the stuff that people dislike from what's it called?
Just open world games in general, or like Ghost of Tsushima.
No, like open world games in general. Like a lot of the Ubisoft negatives and downgrades that like kind of everybody picked up on when Assassin's Creed got big, right?
Uh-huh.
Apparently, it's weaning off of that a little. I don't know to what degree, but a lot of people seemed excited about that. Um,
Maybe I missed
uh,
it then because I was watching it just before I went to bed the other night, and
mhm.
I think I might have fallen asleep like halfway through it. So
Yeah,
I should probably go back and watch the rest of the video.
yeah. I was gonna say like basically I haven't watched it because it's not for me, but there were three things that I picked up on. That being one of them. A lot of people are saying that that is not dead in the water, but it's something that there's going to be less of, right? And
Okay.
then the other thing I heard is that apparently the protagonist isn't a looker. And I personally like, again, I'm not in the market. I'm also not going to be that culture guy where I just jump in and is like, see, ugly woman, that's why game bad. Because there are people out there like that. But it is kind of funny that after all that criticism, they just did the same old shit. They just did the same old shit and just kind of proved some of the detractors wrong. And the last thing is that that caught my eye. I linked it to you and Joe. Is that it has the Watanabe mode, where it's basically they got the director that
Yeah.
did Samurai Champloo, Cowboy Bebop,
Yeah,
and
I know what
Space
you're talking
Dandy.
about.
Yeah,
I don't remember
and
the name of it.
yeah, and it's like, first of all, I just want to say that guy's kind of fucking lost his mind. Just because, like, if you know the rot that is kind of seeped into the minds of all the creators globally, where they have like something to push, he's no exception to that.
Oh,
Lazarus was dog shit, just to on a tangent there, but the whole point is that it's going to be like in the style, and the style is something he hasn't lost. Like everything, like if there's one thing I can say about the newer stuff that he's been part of, is that it's definitely a looker. So it's going to be a more grounded mode, and it's going to be playing music that you would expect from something like a Samurai Champloo, which is right up my alley. So while I am not going to buy your game, I am most certainly going to partake in your music. That's all I know about the Ghost of Yotei showing.
yeah. Um, yeah, I enjoyed Ghost of Tsushima. I'm gonna check out Ghost of Yotei, but I'm gonna have to wait a good amount of time before Sony
Mm,
decides to port it to PC.
mm.
Um, yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got. I have no idea what else I could bring up for this week that we haven't already talked about.
Yeah, I think that's all I really got. That's all I really got too. I know that there's some other boring stuff like Namco's in the red. Their gaming division's not doing so hot after, just ripples from that Blue Protocol game that flopped because of localization last year. The guys behind one of the biggest and long running MMO games, Dungeon Fighter Online, is apparently on strike because of bonuses. Like there's a bunch of small shit. Nothing
Yeah, that shit never gets
groundbreaking.
old, does it?
Well, it's like like the opening of Call of Duty 4. Just like shit just happening all over the world. So not all of it's worth mentioning. Some of it's mundane.
I miss Call of Duty 4, the original one.
Yeah, you mentioned that. It's
Back in its heyday. Yeah, I mentioned it off air. Better times, simpler times.
yeah,
But anywho, I think that probably does it for this episode then, because we're just kind of like leaving
winding
long
down.
gaps of silence, and yeah, it's probably a good sign to wrap it up.
Not every week's gonna be explosive.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
next week,
agreed.
next week we'll have a lot more to talk about with the stop killing game stuff and some of the other fighting game stuff I mentioned last week.
Yeah, well, on that note, I guess that wraps up episode 63 of the Pregame Network podcast. So if you're
Uh-huh.
still sticking around and listening, then we appreciate you.
Always.
And we'll be back next week for more news, bullshit, and fun times, I guess.
Mhm.
But anyway, yeah, that's it for this episode. So thanks for listening, and talk to everybody next week. Bye.
Bye bye.